day everyone, I'm Caitlin Joy Kayakap Iseo with Ms. Hannah Sofia Canayo and Mr. Armin J. Jangkinay. And we are about to tackle Lesson 2, Criteria in Choosing Appropriate Assessment Tools. This lesson, the student should be able to number 1, examine appropriate assessment tools to be used in the classroom. Number 2, review assessment held by the teacher and determine if it is applicable to the 21st century. Number 3, decide the types of measure to be utilized. Assessment methods are the strategies, techniques, tools, and instruments fixed collecting information to determine the extent to which students demonstrate desired learning outcomes. It's a description of how and when the assessment tools will be used to assess the outcome. As a future teacher, we need to select various of tools to assess students' achievement. According to Merens 2001, as cited are in McDavid and Gibson, it is a broadest sense, the purpose of assessment is to gather data to facilitate decision making. In other words, is to determine the student's interests about learning process. The following may be considered in choosing appropriate assessment tools. The first one is goal of assessment. In goal of assessment, it involves the complex learning and desired result. The second one is method of assessment that classified into two, which is direct and indirect method. Direct assessment. A professional makes a decision regarding what a student learned and how it was learned. It is an observation of a student performance or examination of product. Example, written assignment, examination, oral presentation, and performance. The second one is indirect method. In indirect method can provide useful supplement and check on the findings from direct measures. Example, student satisfaction survey, external reviewers, curriculum and syllabus analysis, and alumni surveys. In indirect measures can give us information quickly but may not provide direct evidence of student learning. The teacher may consider the following characteristic in selecting appropriate assessment tools, whether conventional or ICT-based assessment. In conventional, it is more traditional assessment tools to evaluate what skills of your student can perform, while in the ICT, it involves the use of information and communication technologies. It is used to test the skills and capabilities, the development by the student. Number 1 is measure the desired level of performance, level efficiency or student performance. 2, cost effective in terms of effort, time and money, satisfaction, and productivity. 3, useful that will produce results that provide information that can be used in making decisions to improve student learning. Number 4, reasonable, accurate, and truthful. Number 5, dependable, consistent, responsible, and over time. Number 6, evidence of being ongoing, not once and done.
How to create a rubrics. First, what is rubrics? Basically, this tool that teachers and professors use to help them to communicate expectation, provide focus feedback, and grade product. Can be invaluable when the correct answer is not as cut as dry as choice A multiple choice test. But creating the grade rubrics is more than just slapping some expectation on a proper assigning some percentage point and calling it a day. A good rubrics needs to be designed with care and precision in order to truly help teachers distribute and receive the expected work. Step to create a rubrics. The following 6 steps will help you when you decide to use a rubrics for assessing an essay, a project, a group work, or any task that does not have clear right and wrong answer. First, define your goal. Before you create your rubrics, you need to decide the type of rubrics you'd like to use, and that will largely be determined by your goal for the assessment. For example, ask yourself like, how detailed do I want my feedback to be? Or how will I break down my expectation for this project? Are all of the tasks equally important? Once you figure out how detailed you like the rubrics to be and the goals you are trying to reach, you can choose any type of rubrics. a rubric type. Although there are many variations of rubrics, it can be helpful to at least have a standard set to help you decide where to start. Here are the two widely used in teaching as defined by DePaul University Graduate Educational Department. The first is analytic rubric. This is the standard grade rubric that many teachers routinely use to assess student work. A rubric for an essay, for example, may contain criteria like organization, support, and focus, and may contain performance level like 4 exceptional, 3 satisfactory, 2 developing, and 1 unsatisfactory. A rubric for an essay, for example, might contain criteria like organization, focus, and support, and may contain performance level like 4 exceptional, 3 satisfactory, 2 developing, and 1 unsatisfactory. Number 2 is holistic rubric. This type of rubric that is much easier to create but much more difficult to use accurately. Typically, a teacher provides a series of letter grades or range number like 1 to 4 or 1 to 6 for example, and then assign expectations for each of those score. Step 3. Determine your criteria. This is where the learning objective for your units or course come into play. Here you'll need to brainstorm a list of knowledge and skill you would like to assess for the project. Group them according to similarities and get rid of anything that is not absolutely critical. A rubric with too much criteria is difficult to use. Try to stick with 4 to 7 specific subjects for which you'll be able to create an ambiguous, measurable expectation in that performance level. Step 4. Create your performance level. Once you have determined the broad levels you would like students to demonstrate mastery of, you will need to figure out what type of score you will assign based on each level of mastery. Most rating scale includes between 3 and 5 levels. Some teachers use combination of numbers and descriptive labels in like 4 exceptional, 3 satisfactory, and so on. While other teachers simplify, assign number, percentage, letter grades, or any combination of the 3 levels. Some teachers use a combination numbers of descriptive labels like 4 exceptional, 3 satisfactory, and so on, while other teachers simply assign numbers, percentage, letter grades, or any combination of 3 for each label. You can arrange them from highest to lowest or lowest to highest as long as your labels are organized and easy to understand. Step 5. Write descriptor for each level of your rubrics. This is probably your most difficult step in creating a rubric. Here you will need to write a short statement of your expectation underneath each performance level for every single criteria. The description should be specific and measurable. Step 6. Revise your rubrics. After creating the descriptive language for all the labels, you need to go back through and limit your rubrics to a single page. Too many parameters will be difficult to assess at once, and may be ineffective way to assess students' mastery of the specific standard. Consider the effectiveness of the rubric, asking for student understanding, and see a teacher's feedback before moving forward. Do not be afraid to revise as necessary. It may even be helpful to grade a sample project in order to gauge the effectiveness of your rubrics. You can always adjust the rubrics if need to be before handing it out, but once it's distributed, it will be difficult.
So what is e-portfolio or an electronic portfolio? An electronic portfolio is a collection of electronic evidence assembled and managed by a user. So usually on the web. Such electronic evidence may include input text, electronic files, images, multimedia, blog, entries, and hyperlinks. There are three major types of electronic portfolio. First is developmental, second is showcase, and third is assessment. So first is developmental or learning e-portfolios. These portfolios are typically created by a student as part of a course as a way to demonstrate learning and learning processes. These portfolios are often shared with other students to elicit peer feedback. Learning portfolios support to the idea of formative feedback as an essential part of the learning process. So, second is showcase or professional e-portfolios. These e-portfolios are primarily a way to demonstrate or to showcase the highlights of a student's academic career. So, third is assessment or general education e-portfolios. At the use of portfolios played a substantive role in the assessment of our general education competencies. Using both formative and summative assessments, feedback was provided to colleges, departments, and educators on the quality of evidence students use in their portfolios to demonstrate our general education competencies.